Nice, nice. Welcome from wherever you're tuned in. As I said, this always sounds like a talk show, but maybe it is. Uh, Let me just know if you're on the. Let's see how many people are live right now. Yeah, we have actually 5 folks live. If you can hear us, just and everything is good on your end. If we need to adjust any sound volumes, let us know in the comments. But also let us know from where you're tuned in. Tell us maybe you're from in Amsterdam. I know that folks tuning in from Amsterdam, San Francisco, Nairobi, Mombasa. Nice, nice, nice. So thank you so much. And thank you for checking into our today's live session. And before we begin, I'd like to just do a quick, I always do the quick housekeeping. First, welcome so much to our today's live session. We have a very interesting guest, as I already told you in the socials. If you're following us from LinkedIn or from YouTube, you already know that our guest is a very amazing guest. So I can't wait to jump into introducing her. But before I begin, I would like just to say also happy International Women's Day. We actually didn't know that today will be IWD. Honestly, it's also just turned out that we are hosting her, and also it's also IWD. So it was a perfect coincidence. So we love that. So happy IWD to every woman and ladies listening to us today. May you have a nice day. I don't know if there always IMD. I don't know if it's there, but maybe you should work on something like that. But it's your day. May you enjoy it. And just housekeeping. One thing is, we're always asking folks, please subscribe to our channel. We're almost crossing 512. Actually, we just need 2 people today to cross 512. And maybe by now, our producer will be telling us whether we actually crossed. So if you're there and you haven't subscribed and you're watching this, it is free, as we always say. Just get there and subscribe. If you're listening from LinkedIn, you can actually go to just YouTube and subscribe and go back to LinkedIn. The name is Blackboard, and the producer is going to add the link right there on the chat. You'll be able to see it on the screen. So please subscribe. We get us to 512 fast, and then, as I said, once we are at 1024, that is our. It is like is it a kilobyte or what is it, Clement? 1024 is how many bytes? Kilobytes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 kilobyte. That's what we want to get to, and then I'll never ask you again. For if I ask you, please, if I ever say after 1024 that please subscribe, just tell me, hey, Nandaa, you're tripping. You will promise us you'll never beg again after 1024. So get me 1024. I know I'll take it from there to maybe one day 1 million subscribers. Okay. So thanks so much for that. And so I'd like to quickly introduce my co-host and then my guest. So I'm happy to be joined by Hebs. It's called Hebs or Clement Habinshuti. Is an acclaimed musician and a software engineer. I don't know why he's laughing. Critically acclaimed musician and a software engineer. Both of them critically acclaimed. You can check out his stuff is on actually he's actually in all platforms, Spotify, YouTube as Hebs. That's the name on the screen there. You can see what he does, and also on LinkedIn, you can be able to see what other thing he does in his profession as a software engineer. So I'm really happy and honored to be him to be here as my co-host. You'll hear about from him shortly. And on the backstage, someone you don't see, but she really also helped us to make this show go live. That's our producer, Maryann. She's in the backstage. You cannot see her now. But she really does the magic on the back end. the music and everything. So we really appreciate that, those two folks. And then now to my guest. My guest today is Cynthia Wasonga. I'll quickly introduce her from how I know her, but I'll let her talk about herself next. But I think we first met when she was just joining first year in the University of Nairobi. I won't say the years, so you don't need to calculate her age. But she from like, I was teaching this programming class. I used so in the uni I was actually on the path of being a lecturer. Right now I'll be like teaching in university, but I turned course. So what happened was I was running this para because I was not yet a lecturer, so I was still in training. So like a graduate assistant. So but I was really itching to just be in class and teach. So I said, oh, talk to my director. Can I be teaching this class? I call it programming 102. So it was sort of like programming 101 and this is the plus plus. So I'll teach things that are not in the main curriculum. So things like Python were not in the curriculum. So I will teach such things, and she was one of my students. So I'm really happy that she was one of my students, and she's already like standing out. First of all, the field has fewer women, so it means in her class she'll tell us how many ladies were in her class, but still they were on the minority side. But even from there, she was really outgoing to get out of her comfort zone to do this extra things like the programming 102. And you could tell from the way she was doing everything, you could tell that she'll have a brighter future. And actually, I've seen that, and she'll talk about it herself. And also talking about programming 102, just lastly, she was among the few students who still remained like, that class. Let me just throw people at the bus. So what happened with that class was what it was a class that students thought that it was an examinable class. So people used to come. The first few classes, it was packed house. So I felt like, oh, guys are they really want to learn this stuff. So I was really happy myself. So I was having like classes of 20, of 50 or 30 to 50, like packed computer lab. And then when students notice that this thing is not examinable, they'll not have a cut on it or whatever. Oh, they know, okay, maybe it was wrongly advertised. So the folks dropped off. I don't think I was boring, but maybe I was. But for but what happened was I remained with this about 10 students that were really really locked in, and she was one of them. So kudos to you, and I hope that Python helped you maybe a little bit. You tell us about it. And sorry by there for the background noise. My son is just calling me, but I'll fix that in a minute. But in a minute, just welcome Cynthia, and take it away. Just tell us about yourself, like quickly. Who are you? Where are you coming from? Before we go to your story.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Nandaa, for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. So I'm Cynthia. I know Nandaa, yes, from my campus days, and I do not remember that much about Nandaa's class. I just, in my mind, was something outside the normal syllabus, and it was something we were learning things beyond the syllabus, things to be used outside of school. So for me, that was exciting. I had no idea it was not examinable. I'm just hearing it for the first time. I was just excited to be learning about Git and Python. So it's interesting how I really had no idea about the examinable part. I was just there because you were teaching us valuable stuff just aside from the curriculum. Yeah, so I'm really happy to be here, and I'm grateful for Nandaa's teaching and knowledge that he imparted on us few or many. And yeah, I remember being it was Valentine's Day. And it was strange because we had a class on Valentine's Day. And I was thinking, don't we have places to be? And we're learning Python. So that's a memory I have of those days. So I started my computing journey, or rather my programming journey, more than 10 years ago. I Then I went on to campus at UN as a computer science student. Attempted to start a startup, and then went on to Andela. Worked for a company called Pluralsight, then moved on to Microsoft, and then to Google. And now I'm working on setting up a startup, and which should be launching in due time. Aside from the programming world, I'm very, very enthusiastic about animation, cartoons, something I've been interested in from a very long time ago. And so I've been studying it over the past few years, and I'm hoping to build my skills in that area as well. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, good to hear. But by the way, yeah, so I'm really looking forward to, because I know you folks from the back side channel. So I'm looking forward to your startup that you folks are building, and I know it's gonna be an amazing one. Once it's out, we'll make a lot of noise about it, and hope you get customers. Yeah, but it's an amazing. Like I can't wait to you folks to hear about it. Like once it's done, it's in stealth mode, but it's an amazing product. Like it's not like the usual products you hear about. It's sort of out of the park. So looking forward to it. Yeah. So I will now go to your. Just tell us about your journey to tech. Like maybe in summary, because we'll go into the details today. We're talking about excellence in software craft, which will go into the details of like how do you become excellent and all that. But just before we jump to that, wanted to hear a little bit of your background, and then also Hebs will come in like if he has extra questions about like your background, he can probe more. But not like an interview. Like tell us more about someone used to tell me the background, and then they say my background, okay, I have a lighting here. Okay, good. But so I like your background, but then you've done like better than us. I think we need to take something from you. Like I think maybe we need to be coming to shoot from your home. It's like so I like your current background, but now tell us you like how do you go into tech, and what sold you in?
Yeah. I started, well, there's the journey, I guess, to the starting. Maybe I can start there before that. So we had a computer at home, and it was mainly used for the games. Actually, I think about it, and I was listening into Hibbs's interview, and I was like, well, there's so many parallels there. You know, the days of Dangerous Days and the Mortal Kombat, before it was nice and sassy with the graphics, all those game stuff. And over time, I just kept coming back to Microsoft Office suite. For some reason, very boring, but it just drew me. Like I used to spend hours and hours on Microsoft Paint. I would draw things. I would, click like all the toolbars and figure out like what's going on behind this. This is okay. This is a paint bucket. Oh, I see a cutting tool. This is a pencil. What's the difference? Like if I would zoom in, I would see like the pixels. So it was very interesting. I'd spend a lot of time, and with my interest in animations and cartoons, then I was really intrigued. I used to watch movies, and then I would pause the movies, put my paper like on the screen and trace around them, and then transfer that drawing over to Microsoft Paint. So I spent a lot of time with this graphic stuff, and then I discovered Microsoft Word. That's when things took a turn. I started again the toolbars. All these tools. I'm like, okay, they have to all mean something. So the word art, the adding an image, bolding text or italics. So it was very captivating to me. Again, and then Microsoft PowerPoint was like the the next stage. It really just blew me away with the presentations, how you could they had animations and GIFs. You could draw things and move on to the next slide, make some effects, make something appear from wherever, and those effects of dissolving. So it was really captivating then, and I would spend hours and hours on end. Like, I think if I was playing a game, it would take me maybe 30 minutes, I'd get bored. But when it came to Microsoft PowerPoint, I would spend hours and make presentations and make all kinds of things. So I think that's where my interest really peaked. And from then, I went into high school, and we had computer studies, it was called. I took music, but I had to make a choice between music and computer studies in high school. And in a split decision, I just said, okay, I'll go with music. I think because I felt I knew a lot of the computer work, so I felt I don't know much about music, so I'll go into that direction. But when we were closing, like we had just done our KCSE exam, a lady from our class just called me and 3 others and asked, there's this thing called Akira Chicks, and there's a lady who wants to mentor us about coding. So I had the word coding, and in my mind, I went to cartoons immediately. I thought it was about deciphering codes. In cartoons, the way they would hide something behind a code, and then you had to decipher it. So that was what I understood by coding. I had no idea what it was. So in that holidays, it was the December holidays after KCSE, I was introduced to Linda Kamau from Akira Chicks, and she introduced me to this competition called Google Coding Competition. So it's a competition for between 13 to 17-year-olds, where you get to work on open source projects. You have mentors to help you and to complete tasks. And the grand prize was that you would get a trip to Google San Francisco campus. So that was very exciting. I was like, oh my goodness, I could actually go to the Google office in San Francisco. So that was a big motivator. I knew nothing, and I didn't know that I knew nothing, but I was excited. I found out I knew nothing when I was doing some of the tasks. I started with documentation. It wasn't even coding. I was that fresh. I knew literally nothing about coding. And one day I'm chatting with one of the students. We were 6 students. We were working on an organization called Sahana Software Foundation. They deal with disaster relief and management. And I was chatting with another student. It had been a long week for me. I was trying to complete one documentation task. It was taking me a week just to change the document. And I started chatting with one of the other students who were on the program, and she was like, oh, my day has been tough. I had exams today. I was only able to do 5 documentation tasks. So I was struck, and he was actually younger than myself. So it got me thinking, wow, I'm this bad. I've been struggling with one the whole week. So that really challenged me. I was like, okay, well, there's a lot of work to be done here. There's a lot more that I need to do. So I kept at it during the Christmas holidays, going to up country with, limited internet and electricity. But it was really captivating, even though it was just documentation stuff, and later on HTML and CSS. I mean, it was so captivating. I remember on Christmas Eve that year, I was working on the HTML site. I mean, I look at it now and it's ugly. I can't believe it was such an ugly thing, but then I was so proud of it. It was my first website I ever built. And I stayed until 4 a.m. in the morning on Christmas Eve, and my mom came knocking. Are you still awake? I think she had woken up to prepare things. And I looked at my watch. I'm like, wow, it's 4. So I realized then, like, I had caught the bug of coding. So that's during that holiday, I decided to change I wanted to do mechanical engineering, and I switched over to computer science because of that. I mean, I guess the whole experience, in a competition, trying to do as many tasks as you could. That really changed me, and as well as the impact that people on the organization were having. They actually helped people stuck in hurricanes, making sure that warehouse resources are distributed well, ambulances go where they need to go. So it was very interesting for me to see these people are pretty much sitting behind a desk like myself, but they're impacting real lives beyond the screen. So that was also something that captured me. And I started learning Python because the organization was using Python. I wanted to contribute even more. Yeah, so that's how I started my journey to computing, and then the rest is, I guess, history.
Is this? Wow, that's so interesting. But it's so interesting how every person I interviewed, there's always something that we have sort of some similar background. Like myself, I had that split in high school between doing music and computer studies. So what happened was one of the computer studies music teachers found me playing the keyboard at you're form ones, you're trying to like talent show, right? So you over like maybe the lunch, or I think it was lunchtime or games time, they would give us like the keyboards there trying to play. So he found me playing and he told me, hey, by the way, what subject did you choose for technical subject? I said computer studies. I don't know why people keep choosing this thing, computer. You can do these things packages after after high school, and I know you have a good talent. Don't bury your talent. You remember that story of the parable of the talent. So once he got me with the parable, because once he got me with the parable, now I'm a spiritual person. Okay, thought about it. I said, oh, let me do computer studies. By the way, so I ended up doing computer studies for Form 1. Then Form 2, I met one of my friends who were doing computer studies. I did music for Form 1. So I met the computer studies guys do. Hey, I feel like no. I think I missed out on this thing. I just loved whatever I just theory, just learning about how cathode ray tubes or whatever, how these things started and all that kind of thing. But they were really fascinating to me. Even they didn't got into programming. So I had actually long story short, I had actually to go the following year, Form 2, cry at the deputy's office. It wasn't taking the cry. It actually, I was feeling like this is my future. So he managed to actually allow me to go do computer studies after missing Form 1. So I did Form 1. I had to go back and read and sort of recoup and then catch up. Yeah, so I had that. But even up to now, so I still have that split. I have more or less like in my background, you can see there's a bass guitar. So my life is always all these two things, they require time. So you want to play your music, you want to get into your craft, it's really like a struggle. And Hebs, I always tell you the same story. It's a struggle between balancing those two things. So, but that's life. So I like that. Now, Hebs, I don't know if you have any questions for her or any comments.
Well, maybe I was just fascinated that she's also passionate about animation and graphics. So that's something new to learn. Well, very interesting to know that.
Nice. And I know Hebs had some project coming out, and I don't know. You'll tell us maybe there's some animation you're doing, or did you do it like of a song?
Work in progress.
Work in progress. Nice. No worries. Yeah, good stuff. Now let's talk about the chasing. We titled this as "Chasing Excellence," and I don't think what I'll do is like I know most of you folks, you don't like talking about yourself, like bigging up yourself. So me, I'm here to big you up. So so first, I forgot before this call, I plan to go and check your Stack Overflow ratings. You're among the highly rated Stack Overflow folks in Kenya. I don't, if not the top. I don't know, because I'm yet to see another person who's more scores than you. So my plan was to check, but before maybe the end of this call, I'll have checked the Stack Overflow rating. So you are really, it means that you have reputations there. So that's one thing. Another thing is when IHAB was doing what's called 5 years, IHAB celebrating 5 years. That was like way back in 2014. 14.
Yeah, I think so.
Cynthia was the top lady, not even the top lady, she was the top person, like beating everyone. in code challenge. We did something called SCI code jam. So we organize a code challenge, like a Google code jam, and she merged top. I don't know what you were given. I think you were given some gift. I don't know. I can't remember that time, but I remember
it was a phone. Yes.
a phone. Okay, I remember like handing. They gave me to hand it to you. I remember something. I hope it wasn't an idiot. It was a good. I hope it was a good phone. That time phones were not really advanced, but I hope it was a good one.
It is right.
Nice. So that's one of the things, and of course, she went on to work at Andela, and then worked at Microsoft. How many? Like 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yes.
Almost 2 years, and then moved over to Google. So she was at Google for until recently when they had to make a decision to come back to Kenya, but not fired, nothing. She was just left on her evolution. Actually, I was wondering, like, hey, you folks are really like, leaving a job. Because for me, I left a job one time, and I had it rough, but anyway, it was like a good decision because I know it was something to do with a family decision, which is okay. So, and now you're working on a startup. That's really amazing. We're looking forward to when you do the release. So I can just see excellence in everything that you do. Everything you touch is always excellent. So I want to know, how is your process of like trying to perfect your craft, trying to be excellent in your things? Is there anything that you do? So normally you just do things that you say, oh, okay, I think this is how everyone just does things. You just do these things, but some of those things that you do are actually what are making you excellent. So we'd like to know some of those things.
Cool. Okay, so thank you again for the big up. I guess I'd say I made a lot of mistakes, and that's where I learn a lot of the things to do and things not to do. So I'll pretty much be talking about my mistakes, the mistakes I've done, because they've beat me hard enough to have me change how I'm doing things. But to start it off, I'd like to mention that excellence is a habit. Apparently, Aristotle said that sometime. I cannot verify it. So basically, I have, I'd say 3 habits that I have cultivated. I'm still, striving towards cultivating more. But for now, these 3 things help me do what I do in the best way that I can. Again, learning from my mistakes, the mistakes that I've made over the past years. So the first habit I have been working on is the habit of learning. And this is not something I've been doing all my life. I wish I would have been doing this for a while. So this is something I do every day. A habit is not something you do monthly. It can't be a habit. You can't do something every month and call it a habit. It's mostly something you do daily or every other day, something that you can go with and build with it as your character. So what I do currently is I have 1 hour of learning every day. And for me, I wanted to have 1 hour of learning every day. I need to learn something. If I'm working on building, so like right now, maybe I've never learned React as I should. I've had tasks in React, for example. This is the JavaScript framework for building websites. But I've never really learned it. So right now I need to learn it properly. So I take time to learn every day. And my goal is 1 hour, but a lot of the times I can feel the dread of 1 hour, of setting 1 hour and being like, I'm learning React right now. So I've made a workaround and said, before I start anything, I have 2 parts of my day. I have the morning and I have the lunchtime, and the afternoon, I mean. So in the morning, I take 30 minutes. 30 minutes is not much. 30 minutes is very difficult. So I take 30 minutes before I start my day and 30 minutes before I start the second half of my day, and I end up with an hour at the end of the day. If I'm feeling really constricted with time and I'm like, I need to do this right now, I make it 15 minutes. So for it to be a habit, it has to be done every day. And the the mistake that I did, or something that beat me, I had to make a change because of this. I had a task that I needed to do in about a week, and this task needed me to learn about 3 languages or 3 frameworks, 3 tools. And in my mind, I was thinking that if I had to sit down and learn all these 3 tools, I would not be done in time to meet the deadline. So I started immediately. I just got snippets from what other people had done, put my code together with glue and Stack Overflow answers. And I got a bug, or rather I got errors, and I did not understand anything that I was looking at. Like the error messages were Greek to me. And I was just, pushing on, trying to just get the thing done. 2 weeks elapsed and I was still there banging my head on this task. And then I realized, well, this is not getting me anywhere. So I decided to go back and learn these tools. So I took the first 2 days to learn those tools properly. And when I went back, I could not believe how horrible I was because the error was such a simple. I just had to read it, but that I did not have the knowledge at all, and so it ended up taking me 1 week. The week, but it ended up taking me 3 weeks, 2 weeks of wasting time, and 1 week of actually learning the tools and getting it done in a very short amount of time. So that was a huge wake-up call for me that you sharpen the axe before you get into something, instead of just fumbling around, getting snippets from here and there. Sharpening the axe is something that I live by. Before I start something, I have to learn it. I learn it fast. I take the 15 minutes. If I'm feeling pressed for time, I take the 30 minutes every day without fail. Yeah.
That's good stuff. Number 2, the
yeah,
3
I
things.
guess yes. The second habit is the habit of reflecting on my work. So basically what happens sometimes is that code can change, or rather the requirements shift, ideas change, and so you set this to do this task maybe 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 3 weeks ago, and it's on your plate, it's on your backlog, and then you pick it up and start doing it. But maybe something changed along the way. 3 months ago, something happened, a client maybe is no longer with the company. So you end up working on the task, but it's not important anymore. So what I do every time before I work on a task, I do this daily. So I need to work on this thing. Is this still important? Is this still helpful for the company? Is this still helpful for the organization? Is this helpful for the business? Do people still need this task to be done? So if I'm building a form, for example, right now, I'll ask myself, okay, I'm building a form. Do we still need this? I have to confirm with stakeholders. Are we still in need of this form? Because what I did some months back, I had this huge project I was working on, and I'd listed all the things I need to do, to complete this thing. And finally, the last bit of it was, I need to write tests to make sure this thing is solid. It's not like software engineering tests. It was more of like configuration tests, so to speak. So I ended up working on them, really, digging into it, researching, doing all the work for about 2 weeks, only to get to the review stage and learn that, oh wait, we don't need this anymore. Something changed about a month ago. So like all my work was wasted because we didn't need the product. So always making sure you're working on what is important right now. Before you put your time on something, just asking yourself, is this important? Because your time can go into all different ways. There are so many things to draw in your time. You want to work on this, you want to, style this pattern because it's been bothering you. You want to, you want to get this analytics because it would look good on the dashboard. But for everything you're doing, this is time. Time is very, very precious. So you need to put your time where it would be the most valuable. Even if it's a boring thing, if that small thing is what will move the needle 80%, then that's what you should be focusing on, not just what feels like is the thing that you want to do. So that habit of reflecting on my work every day, not just on weekly sprints and with the team and saying, okay, I'm working on this, this is what I'm doing for this week. Every day before you sit, know why you're doing what you're doing. I think that's what has also helped me since my initial blunder.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we go to the third one, I wanted just to
Yeah.
interject a little bit and just say that I've just remembered something that you mentioned about, so that reflecting on whatever you're doing, and it helps you like reprioritize, because not like priorities remain the same all along, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I just had a quote from someone. I listened to so many things around, but I don't know if it was online or whatever place it was, that whenever you're saying yes, so it means even the work you're doing now, you're saying yes to this work, or you're doing yes to something. So whenever you're saying yes, you're also saying no to many other things. So then those no are really implicit things. You don't know what you're saying no to. So I think that reflecting really helps, like, know what actually you're saying no to, the things that you haven't prioritized that actually you should have prioritized. So I love that. I think maybe something I need to pick up too. I don't do that, like reflecting every day. Maybe I need to take that model. Thanks so much for that. Now on to your the third one.
I guess my third habit is the habit of writing. So I formed the habit of writing so much so that if I don't see a book on my desk, I don't see a pen on my desk, I could take the next like 20 minutes. Like, do I need to go to the shop and buy me a pen or get a book? I need to have my book and my pen on my desk, because I realize it does something for me when I am writing something, when I'm learning something, as simple as how to post a form. If I write down, okay, I'm learning how to post a form. Like I write the date, I put my title there. This is my goal for now. I'm learning how to write a form. I look for the best resource that I can get at that time, and now write the notes down. I tend to actually go through the whole resource and come out of there with something I can use, something substantial I can actually use in my next task. So writing, everything from designing something before I go into it. This is actually the next habit I'm working on, to add to my habit of writing, making sure I solve the problem first before I jump into writing the code to create the feature. So like my trusty Karatasi book and my big pen are always with me on my desk, because I realized how much good it does for my mental state. When I'm reading something and I'm writing it down, I'm actually in the moment. There's no room for losing focus. There's no room for, oh, I see a WhatsApp message, I see a YouTube interesting thing I saw yesterday, maybe I should watch that. When you write, all your mind is there. You can hardly lose focus when you write, and that's one of the things that's one of the tools that I've been using for quite a while. Yeah.
You're muted, Nandaa.
Yeah, you're muted.
No, sorry.
Okay.
So those are really solid stuff. So if I was just saying that if you just joined us for mass right now, you just found it, like Cynthia was talking on the third point about writing. So the thing that she's mentioned already, number one, the learning habit, right? That was number one. Number two was reflecting on my work every day. And then number three is writing. And this is a habit, and she says that habit is not something you do on the weekend, it's something you do every day to make it a habit. That was a nice one. And on writing, but now I wanted to throw a challenge to you. I've just quickly, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to check on some stuff. So I've actually just tried to Google you. No pun intended. and somehow I had to go through places to learn to your Medium blog post. But first, before I go to that, is my challenge to you is it would be nice to have a domain of your own, so that you put all your stuff in one place, so that we need to hear what you're writing also. Don't just write for yourself. So try one time after you've consolidated, maybe after a week or a month, try send something out. That's something I sent to a challenge I gave Hebs to, and Hebs he did his blog post recently, Hebs.xyz, I think. There. So, but I've landed on your Medium blog post, and last blog post you wrote was about truthy and nothing but truthy. Yeah, but I love that. So just pick it up again. Now publishing it out, because I think we need most of these voices out here. I'm always challenging the engineers. I find that, hey, but you know a lot of stuff. Please put it out there. It's just a good thing to first, even for your resume, for your. But I know most of you guys don't care about your resumes. You always care about just your stuff that you're doing. So just publish whatever you're doing. Don't even publish for the sake of boasting. People might think that you're boasting, but just it's like to share with others, because there's so many folks who are really watching us. Like folks, there's someone who's just finished from 4 is wondering, should I take computer science? Should I? They're listening to you, and just even one conversation, one blog post can change their entire life. Because it's usually those crossroad places. Like by the time right now we'll be talking to you, and you maybe I don't know where we'll be working, maybe which mechanical, but I know wherever you'll be expert. Maybe you'll be working with Ford or Tesla as a mechanical engineer there. So, but you see that crossroad you had to choose between computer science and mechanical engineering. There's so many people on those kind of crossroads. So please share your thoughts out there. That's my encouragement to you. And I'll follow up. I'll not leave you. So in a month's time, I want to check whether the domain is up. So okay, nice. But I love that. Nice. Good. Clement, any comments from?
Yeah, I like the comments you said about reflection, and you also, before you started listing the steps, you said that you talk mostly about your mistakes, and it seems like the habits that you take are based on reflecting on maybe the mistakes you feel that you did, and finding ways to improve so that we can have better results or better outcomes. So I was just wanted to maybe ask questions on top of that, just philosophically. How, do you have an idea of where you want to be, such that you are optimizing your process to get to that point? And if you see okay, maybe I did not hit my target, and if I continue down this road, I'll not hit this bigger goal, so let me adjust my process by introducing these new habits or relinquishing these habits to achieve that process? Or do you just or how do you decide what needs to be improved? So is it based on some goals? And you also ever reach to a point where you feel you are being too hard on yourself? Maybe this mistake wasn't that bad, maybe I'm doing okay, and I'm just being too nitpicky. And maybe how do you balance between, let's say, being kind to yourself and being hard to yourself, so that you actually get where you want to be?
Cool. So I guess I can start with the first question about how I know, if I have goals that I'm trying to get to. So I think it's a mix of both. And partly, yes, I have goals that I am looking toward. Maybe I could share one of the things that I'm aiming for myself. I've realized before that I know what makes me feel like I'm doing a good job. I know that when I'm doing something and I know what I'm doing, so I'm not fixing code together with glue, spaghetti code all over, copy pasting everywhere, and just getting something to work. I'm never proud of that work. It always feels like I've kind of just done something haphazardly. But I know that when I know exactly what I'm doing, I feel fulfilled with that kind of work. and I want to be a person that knows what they're doing. And so these are the habits that help me know what I'm doing. By learning something, I know what I'm doing because I have learned it. I have taken the time to study it. By writing something, I then again, I know what I'm doing because I am being intentional about it. Also, I guess reflecting on my work, that's mostly just mostly from my mistakes. It wasn't just one mistake, but I've done that several times. Just worked on something because, okay, what's on today? It's like sitting on the sofa and saying, okay, what's on the channel today? Like not being intentional with what I'm doing. So that's mostly pretty much from the mistakes I've learned. But mostly, I know what makes me feel fulfilled in my work, and so I gear my habits towards that. And again, the larger goal for me is to have more impact beyond just my circle. So even as an individual contributor, my goal is to do more than just like to empower more people, more, be it engineers, people on the ground, is it PMs, just to get more impact out of people. And there's only so much you can do as one person. So just having that larger influence is what I'm aiming for, and these are the things I believe will get me to that point. About the being kind to myself, yes, that is very important, and which is why it's, for me, I feel it's good to have habits rather than really wanting to make a goal happen. So with the habit, it's very simple. It's something you do every day. It's something you pick up. It's not really hurting you in any way. You're just forming a habit. If I write what I'm doing, I'm not hurting myself by writing. It's a good thing to do. I'm writing, like that's a good thing to do. If I spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes to learn something, there's nothing wrong with that. I guess the bad thing would be to get stuck in that feeling of, oh my goodness, I made this mistake 6, 7, 10 months ago, and that was so horrible, and staying there, that's being hard on yourself. That's, you're getting stuck in the mud and you're staying there, you're hurting yourself emotionally, and it kind of hurts your morale. But just realizing, oh well, I went in and stepped in the mud, my bad. Okay, next time I have to, let me use a better route next time, or let me get better shoes, let me get boots this time. Every time I pass through this path, let me wear boots next time. So it's about just reflecting, saying, oh, I made a mistake here, what can I do better? I always do this when I get to this puddle. Let me wear boots all the time now when I get here. So it's more of adapting and realizing that what you're doing is hurting you, and that you need to make a change. If it's a small change, I guess it won't hurt.
And maybe
I guess getting stuck is the bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Maybe just one last question on that is, like in the way you've been adapting and improving like your habits or your process, like have you ever, like maybe through reflection, like realized that you had to make like changes so drastic, even in your mindset or how you approach things, that they feel like a major paradigm shift? It's like, for you to get to the next level, you have to reinvent yourself, go from like Cynthia 1.0 to 2.0 in that one, unlock like a new level of productivity, or unlock a new level of impact, or unlock just like, maybe I feel like I don't just need to change maybe these habits, but I really need to change like how I think about maybe how I approach things at a fundamental level. Like it's basically like unlocking a new chapter.
I'd say that would have been me a couple of years ago when I would hear something, read something from a blog, 10 things to do to be the the successful engineer or to be a CEO of a company, to make $1 million.
The ninth
I
one
think
will
that
show
would be me after. Yes. After I read that, I would be like, oh my goodness, like what am I doing with my life? Like I need to go out there. I need to start waking up at 5. I need to be going to the gym. That's a drastic change. I need to go to the gym every day. I need to start pulling weights and running 1 kilometer every morning. That's a drastic change. Like just seeing something and being like, okay, let me do that. That should get me where I want to go. That should get me to a point where I'm healthy. But right now, after knowing what I know now, and I haven't just learned by myself. I've read books. I've learned. The reason I love books is because they're long and slow. Like by the time you're done with the book, you have had time to think about it. You've had times out of the book, you've reflected on it, and then you can make your decision. You're like, no, I don't agree with this author. Or reading books that are conflicting each other. Sort of, this one says you should make sure you have linters in your code. This one says linters are crap. So just reading books that are kind of alter to each other sometimes helps build your thinking. And so coming back to your point of the drastic change, this is why habits are so powerful, because they're simple. You can't just start going to the gym and form a habit. It has to be something simple. You have to start from somewhere. You have to start from, okay, I'll be putting my running shoes close to the bed when I wake up. Something simple as that. You don't just wake up one day and start running kilometers. By the end of the week, you might not be able to form that habit. So something as simple as that. You start small and you build upon it. Yeah.
Wow, good stuff. And by the way, I hope you know that you can actually ask questions to our guests. By the way, you're not the only ones asking. So on the comment, that's your section. So if you have any questions, last questions for the guest, I know we have 2 or 3 that came through. So one from Joseph Orero. Joseph, shout out to you wherever you're listening us from, maybe from SF or wherever place you are. But how is your day like? How many hours do you work in a day?
So I try to work, let's see. I'll just lay out what my day looks like. I haven't really counted my days, but I get to my work space. I get out of the house every day to work. At around 8:30 in the morning, I do my learning for that 30 minutes. I write on my book during that 30 minutes as I'm learning my goals for the day. And then I start working maybe for the next 4 hours, taking breaks in between, obviously. Then there's lunch, and then I come back maybe at around 2 because I have some things that take time around lunchtime that I have to do, and then I go home when it's 5. So it's just a typical day. I know I'm working for myself, but that's how I've organized my day. It's not I'm not reporting to anyone. So I guess you would say 7 hours, give or take. And I don't work when I get home because I'm too tired anyway. Yeah, stuff. Because I've done my best. Yeah.
Good stuff. I know we are running out of time, and by the way, if you have any more questions, I think I can still send them to Cynthia. She can get back on the chat section of YouTube. If you can go there. So if you have any questions for Cynthia, by the way, go ahead. And as I told you, by the way, I just quickly did a fact check. She crossed already. I don't know which time. 39.96 reps on. Stack Overflow. By the way, I've been there. I know this is not an easy thing. You might think, try get to 3,000. So I was lucky. I don't know. I also just crossed 3,000, but she's at almost crossing 4,000. So awesome, good stuff. And our last question for you is normally we ask, what is your everyday carry? Like as a developer, like what do you need? Like top 5 things, 3 things that you always have by yourself, by you, software, hardware, or everything.
So I had the privilege of setting up a new machine just a week ago. So I realized, well, yeah, I need to download this, I need to get this, I need to get this. And I'm really so simple, like, okay, download Chrome. And then Visual Studio Code, download that. Then the usual plugins, the GitHub plugins, and then of course my everyday carry.
Nice one.
Yeah, like I guess that's pretty much it. Just the usual tools, nothing fancy. And of course, all my Zish.
Oh my Zish, good stuff. And by the way, do you have any script that help you to set up? But I'm yet to do that, like especially VS Code. I have a list of VS Code that I actually just go and say, oh, I need this, and that. But do you have like an automated list of things that you can just quickly set up your dev box within a few minutes, or few minutes? Like for example, the extension, the VS Code extension. Just it came in my mind. Like I don't have anything that I automate my VS Code extensions. But do you have anything like that, or you just go manually? For me, I do manually.
I just work with it as it is. I
Yeah.
I might need to do more in that area, but it works for me right now.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because you know the things that we are not like every time we're not there out there just setting up IDs. Because you set up once and then most times your machine you stay like my dev machine, my personal dev machine. I've been with it like 4 years now. So you set up and then you forget. So I like that. So thanks so much,
And
Cynthia, for
linters. Don't forget the linters. Yeah.
the linters, right?
Yeah.
And so thanks for honoring our invitation. But I've seen now comments are streaming in. I'm sorry. Okay, of course, it's my mistake. I told you late that you can ask questions. So maybe it's my mistake, but you also should have asked the questions earlier. But anyway, thanks so much for asking the questions. Because of time, we'll end here. And we would like you to go. I don't know what you're doing for IWD, so we don't want to hold you back. Maybe you have something you're doing. So thanks so much. Have a nice day ahead, and thank you for honoring our invitation. We will invite you back again. We didn't cover everything. I'm always with my guests. We're always like just scratching on the surface. So we'd like to invite you for now the technical details of things. Like also once your startup is out there, we would love you folks to come and talk about your architecture, how you built it. Really looking forward to that time. So thanks so much for everyone who tuned in. Have a nice one, and God bless you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
And lastly, shout out to our producer, Maryann, on the background. So I don't like to forget about the people in the background. So shout out to her. And you folks can have a nice day. Good. Nice one.